Hello, Internet. So today I'm cracking open this Battles of Legend Armageddon booster box. Now, the set itself has just come out on the July 24th, and I'm opening it now on the 28th. Reason why I didn't have this out up in time for the 25th is I wasn't able to. The store that I normally get my products from, they didn't have this available as a pre-order, so I had to order it online. Turns out there's one other game store in the city that may have. I shouldn't say may have. They actually, I had a thing pop up on Facebook advertising that they had the new set in stock, but I'd already placed the order for it online. It's the store itself is a little awkward to get to from where I am, which is why I normally don't remember it exists. But anyways, so we'll just crack this open and get right into it. So there's 24 packs, 5 cards per box, 59 ultra rares, and 33 secret rares. So I know for a fact I won't be getting a full set from this box. A little unfortunate, but I mean, worst case scenario. I do know that there's been a lot of, I've seen a lot of hype online for this set. It's supposed to have a lot of good reprints in it. So, just get right into it. There we go. So we have Elemental Hero Escuridao. Escuridao? So, requires Elemental Hero and Dark Monster. Must be fusion summoned. Gain 100 attack for each Elemental Hero monster in your graveyard, which isn't a bad effect. So that's not bad at all. Black Whirlwind. When a Blackwing monster is normal summoned to your field, you can add one Blackwing monster from your deck to your hand with less attack than that monster. I mean, that doesn't seem like that bad of a card. Necros of Gungnir. Ritual summon this card with any Necros ritual summon. Must be ritual summoned without using any level 7 monsters. You can only use each of these effects once per turn. You can discard this card, then target one Necros monster you control. It cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. And you can discard one Necros card, then target one card on the field, destroy it. Well, that's not too bad. Topologic Zeroboros. 2+ effect monsters. You cannot special summon or set monsters to any extra monster zone this card points to. Gain 200 attack for each banished card. If another monster is special summoned to a zone a link monster points to while this monster is on the field, banish all cards on the field. So that's similar to the I think there's another topologic where it just blows up the entire field with his effect. Once per turn during the standby phase of the next turn after this card was banished by its own effect, special summon this banished card. Goya Guardian. Earth Tuner and one non-tuner monster. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and you send it to the graveyard, you can special summon that monster to your field in defense position. I mean, good effect, good stats. Yeah, I mean, it lets you use your opponent's monsters for your own needs. Oop. And the entire pack is trying to escape on me. Fossil Dragon Skullgar. 1 rock and 1 level of 4 or lower monster in your opponent's graveyard. That's an interesting effect. Or requirement. Must first be special summoned with Fossil Fusion. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage. You can banish this card from your graveyard, add 1 Fossil Fusion from your deck to your hand. You can only use the effects once per turn. So, yeah, I do like that he lets you fetch out the polymerization. Bit of a shame that he has to be in your discard for that, but... Steam Synchron. During your opponent's main phase, you can quick effect. Immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon using this card you control. During your opponent's main phase, immediately after this effect resolves, you synchro summon using this card you control. I'm guessing that you could just say, I'm using his effect, and then immediately synchro summon with him. It's just phrased very oddly. Invoke Elysium. One invoked monster plus one monster that was special summoned from the extra deck. Must first be fusion summoned with the above fusion materials. While face up on the field, this card is also dark, earth, water, fire, and wind. Once per turn, you can target one invoked monster you control or in your graveyard, banish it, and all monsters your opponent controls with the same attribute as that monster. Huh. So if you somehow manage to have two of these guys out on the field, you could just banish one with its effect. Yeah, it isn't invoked. Yeah, so you'd be able to just banish one of these guys and just wipe your opponent's field. Well, I guess unless they have the God cards, because I think those are divine, but other than that, you'd be able to wipe the entire board. This card can attack directly. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, oh yeah, Penguin Torpedo. You can target one level 6 or lower monster your opponent controls. Take control of it until the end phase. But its effects are negated, also cannot declare an attack while you control it. You can only use this effect once per turn. At the end of the damage step, if this card attacked, destroy this card. Number 2, Number Gate Div. 3 level 1 monsters. Oof. Cannot be destroyed by battle. At the end of the damage step, if this card battled an opponent's monster, you can detach one material from this card, double the attack of all Numeron monsters you currently control until the end of this turn. Huh. So when they say Numeron monsters, because I know it would affect him, but I don't know what other Numeron monsters there are, and he doesn't really have the stats to make use of the doubling effect. Specimen Inspection. Reveal one fossil fusion in your hand, send one monster from your hand to the graveyard, and if you do, declare a type and level, then your opponent looks at their hand and deck and sends one monster with the declared type and level from one of them to the graveyard, if possible. So, I mean, I guess that's not too bad if you're wanting to make sure that you have what you need in the graveyard for, or your opponent's graveyard for Skullgar, because it checks both the level and type. And it's not, oh, it has to be both, so. Elemental Hero Neos Alias. Gemini monster. So it's a Gemini monster with the effect of you can normal summon him when he's on the field. So he has the ability of his name becomes Elemental Hero Neos when he already has Elemental Hero Neos in the name. I'm not going to question it. I'm just going to move on. I mean, 1900 attack. That's not too bad. Number 3, Cicada King. Or Cicada King. Is it Cicada or Cicada? I think it's Cicada. 2 level 3 monsters. If the battle position of this card is changed, you can special summon one insect monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. I mean, that's not too bad. When a monster on the field activates its effect, you can detach one material from this card, then target that monster, negate its effects. Then make one insect monster on the field either gain 500 attack or change its battle position. So he seems like he'd be decent for getting out a large number of insects quickly. You can only use this effect once per turn. Appliancer Vaculfant. Cannot be used as link material. The turn this is link summoned can attack directly when it is not co-linked. I'm assuming that means if the arrow's pointing at something. You can send one card from your hand to the graveyard, then target one card your opponent controls, destroy it. If this card is co-linked, you can target one monster in your opponent's main monster zone, destroy it. You can only use one appliance or vacuum elephant and only once per turn. I mean, it's decent effects. Oh, hold on. Oh, sorry about that. Anyways, so Junk Anchor. For a Synchro Summon, you can substitute this card for any one Synchron Tuner. That's not too bad. Once per turn, you can discard one card, then target one non-tuner junk monster in your graveyard, special summon that target. And if you do, immediately after this effect resolves, Synchro Summon one Synchro monster that lists a Synchron Machinist Tuner, using that monster and this card only. Synchro materials are banished instead of being sent to the graveyard. That seems like it's really good for Synchro cards. For Synchron decks. Won't lie, wouldn't mind getting a few more of him. Wonder how long it'll take before we start hitting doubles. There we go. Number C1, Numeron Chaos Gate Sunya. Yeah, I mean, he has good attack for doubling. You can also exceed this monster by using number 1, Number Gate Ikam, you control as material. Transfer its materials to this card. Is that the one I had before? No, the one I had was Number Gate 2. If this card is Xyz summoned, banish all monsters on the field once per turn during your next standby phase after this card was banished. You can special summon this banished card, then if Numeron Network is in your field zone, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the combined attack of all banished Xyz monsters. That seems like a very good effect overall. I mean, the only downside is that I'm assuming that when you banish him, when he comes back, he wouldn't have the materials on him, but... Valeriphon, Mystical Beast of the Forest. You can discard one card, then target one level 2 or lower beast monster in your graveyard, except Valeriphon, Mystical Beast of the Forest. Special summon it in attack position or face-down defense position. You can only use this effect once per turn. I mean, decent enough for getting out more cards. Yep, here we go. First double. Invoked Elysium. Salamangreat, Sunlight Wolf. 2 fire monsters. If a monster is normal or special summoned to the zones this card points to, except during the damage step, you can add one fire monster from your graveyard to your hand, but for the rest of this turn you cannot normal summon set or special summon monsters with the added monster's name. During your main phase, if you control this card that was link summoned using Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf as a material, during your main phase, if you control this card that was link summoned using Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf as material, you can add one Salamangreat spell or trap from your graveyard to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. So are they saying that if you use him for a link summon and you still control that monster on the next turn, or are you saying that if you use a Salamangreat to fetch out to link summon a Salamangreat? That's very confusing. Kalantosa, Mystical Beast of the Forest. If this card is special summoned by the effect of a beast monster, you can target one card on the field, destroy that target. So, works nicely with the fawn. Be curious to see what the Great Beasts of the Forest cards are. That seems like it'd be an interesting archetype. Glacial Beast Iceberg Narwhal. Did they just do a dictionary search for Northern Atlantic, Northern Pacific words? One tuner and one non-tuner water monster. Each time another monster you control is destroyed by your opponent's attack or card effect, inflict 600 damage to your opponent. During your battle phase, when your opponent activates a card or effect while you control another monster, quick effect, you can negate that effect, and if you do, destroy that card. You can only use this effect once per turn. So on the one hand, it's only usable during the battle phase. On the other hand, it only requires you to have another monster. You don't have to discard anything. You don't have to sacrifice anything. Goyo Defender. Once per turn, if all monsters you control are Earth Warrior Synchro monsters, minimum 1, you can special summon Goyo Defender from your extra deck. While this card is targeted for an attack, you can make this card gain 1,000 attack for each Earth Warrior Synchro monster you control other than this card until the end of the damage step. So, a little bit of a shame that it's 1,000 attack for each Earth monster other than him, or each Earth Warrior, I should say, but I mean, the fact that you can just keep dropping them as long as one of them is on the field is pretty good. That was... yeah, once per turn, so it's just whenever. So you drop one of them, you can special summon out a second one as long as they're all Earth Warriors that you have. Artifact Sanctum. Special summon one artifact monster from your deck. If this card is in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can target one card on the field, destroy that card. You can only activate one artifact Sanctum per turn. You cannot do your battle phase turn you activate this card. Number S39, Utopia the Lightning. 3 level 5 light monsters or rank 4 Utopia monster. Transfer its materials. Cannot be used as material for an XZ summon. If this card battles, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. Once per chain during damage calculation, if this card battles an opponent's monster while this card has a Utopia, XZ's monster as material, you can detach 2 materials from this card. This card's attack becomes 5,000 during that damage calculation only. So, on the one hand, it's not doubling it, it's just straight up setting it. So, if you've increased his attack already, you won't get anything. But at the same time, if his attack has been reduced, it still gets around it. So, that's not too bad. Afterglow, banish this card and as many Afterglow from your hand, deck, graveyard, and face-up field as possible. Then shuffle one of your banished Afterglows into the deck. During your next draw phase, reveal the card you drew for your normal draw and inflict 4,000 damage to your opponent if it is Afterglow. You can only activate one Afterglow per duel. So, on the one hand, I mean, you play one of them and it effectively reduces your deck size by 3. Because you're getting rid of it as well as all of the other Afterglows in your deck. On the other hand, that's still a 1 in... let's see here, opening hand is what? 4 cards? Is it 4 or 5 cards? 5 cards. So assuming you have one of them in your opening hand, that'd be 35. So that'd be a 1 in 34 chance of getting its effect off. And then, of course, the longer the match goes on, the higher the chances of actually using its effect. I guess on the one hand, as long as you have it in your hand, it would keep you from milling out, because you could just play it and then get shuffled back into the deck. Now I really want to look into making a deck that's all about self-milling and then just spamming Afterglow. I mean, it'd be a terrible deck and it wouldn't work, but, you know. Dark Armed, the Dragon of Annihilation. 2+ level 7 monsters. Once per turn, if you have exactly 5 dark monsters in your graveyard, you can also Xyz summon Dark Armed, the Dragon of Annihilation by using 1 level 5 or higher dark dragon monster you control as material. You can detach 1 material from this card, then target 1 card in your opponent controls, destroy it, then banish 1 card from your graveyard. Also, this card cannot attack for the rest of this turn. I mean, on the one hand, not too hard to have exactly 5 dark monsters in the graveyard, and lets you bring it out by using a level 5 or higher dark dragon monster. Decent stats. I mean, 2 level 7 monsters, though. That I'm not sure how often you're going to get that off. Elemental Hero Chaos Neos. Elemental Hero Neos plus Neospatian Dark Panther plus Neospatian Glowmoss. I guess this might be the type of situation where you'd want to use the other Neospatian Elemental Hero Neos, the Gemini one. Must first be special summoned from your extra deck by shuffling the above cards you control into the deck. You do not use polymerization. Once per turn during the end phase, shuffle this card into the extra deck, and if you do, set all face-up monsters on the field. Once per turn during your main phase, you can toss a coin 3 times. So if you get 3 heads, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. 2 heads for the rest of this turn. The effect of all face-up monsters you control, your opponent control, are negated. And 1 head, return all monsters you control to the hand. I'm not sure how often it would get. I think statistically, I think you'd be looking at either 2 or 1 most of the time. I'm leaning towards 1 if I'm remembering my how the numbers would work out. Which, I mean, is not that good of an effect. Appliancer Socket Roll. If you control an Appliancer monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. If another Appliancer Socket Roll is special summoned to your field while you control this monster, you can special summon 1 Socket Roll from your deck. You can only use each effect once per turn. Which, I mean, isn't too bad, because as long as you can drop 1 of them, you can just start playing the other one. Yeah, I mean, as long as you... if you have 2 of them in your hand, you will get the 3rd one out. If I'm looking at this correctly. Appliancer Celtopus. 2 Appliancer monsters. Linked cards cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects or their monster's attacks. During damage calculation, if an Appliancer monster linked monster you control is co-linked to this card battles an opponent's monster, your battling monster gains attack equal to the number of monsters co-linked to this card times 1,000. During that damage calculation only. Once per turn, if an Appliancer linked monster you control that is not co-linked to this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can draw 1 card. Huh. It's interesting. I'll say that much. Fireflint Lady. If you control a warrior monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can send this card from the field to the graveyard, special summon 1 level 4 or lower warrior monster from your hand. And if you do, your opponent cannot target it with card effects until this turn. I mean, it's decent enough for getting out... special summoning out other cards in your hand. And at least protecting them long enough to get some use out of them. We have Fossil Warrior Skull King. Must first be special summoned with Fossil Fusion. This card can make a second attack during each battle phase. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage. During your opponent's turn, you can target one monster in your opponent's graveyard, discard one card, and if you do, special summon that monster to your field. So that's quite good. Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. You can target one Buster Blader you control, equip this monster from your hand or field to that target. While this card is equipped to a monster, your opponent cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. While this card is equipped to a monster, you can special summon this equipped card. You can use this effect once per turn. I mean, it's decent enough for Buster Blader. Another Valeraphon. Appliance Tester. Target one appliance or link monster you control. Special summon as many link 1 appliance or monsters from your graveyard as possible to your zones that monster points to, but banish them during the end phase. You can only activate one appliance or test per turn. And another Fireflint Lady. Dark Spell Regeneration. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, target one spell in your opponent's graveyard, set it to your field. You can banish this card from your graveyard and send one Monster Reborn from your hand or set on your field to the graveyard. Special summon one the Winged Dragon of Ra from your graveyard, ignoring its summoning conditions. Then you can send one monster your opponent controls to the graveyard. Also send that special summoning monster to the graveyard during the end phase. So that's quite good for the God cards, because I know part of the issue with them for Hortakiri was that Winged Dragon of Ra you can't normally get out. So good to see that he has some support now. Cicada King. Another Goyo Defender. Another Appliancer Celtopus. Mecha Phantom Beast O-Lion. When you control a token, this card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Mecha Phantom Beast token. You can only use this effect once per turn. You can banish this card from your graveyard. Immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon one Mecha Phantom Beast monster from your hand. I mean, decent enough. He replaces himself with a token when he goes away. You can remove him from the graveyard to special summon out another card. I mean, decent enough support. We have Time Stream. Target one Fossil Fusion monster you control, tribute it, and if you do, special summon one Fossil Fusion monster from your extra deck whose original level is 2 higher than that monster's. This is treated as a fusion summon with Fossil Fusion. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card and one Fossil Fusion monster from your graveyard, then target one Fossil Fusion monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Seems pretty good. Appliance Reuse. Target one appliance or monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but place it on the bottom of the deck when it leaves the field. Mud Skipper. During your main phase, you can reveal one Link monster in your extra deck, and if you do, when you Link summon it this turn, you can treat this card as Link material with the same name, type, and attribute as the revealed monster. If this card is sent to the graveyard as Link material, you can add one level 5 or higher Cyberse monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. Huh. I mean, seems decent enough. Another Junk Anchor. And Secure Gardna. After this card is special summoned, you take no effect damage for the rest of this turn. Once per turn, if you take battle or effect damage, you take no damage. Cannot be used as Link material. You can only control one Secure Gardna. I mean, his effects are decent enough. Seems like he'd help protect against the Beluga, Iceberg, North Atlantic. The one that deals 600 damage every time a creature you control leaves the field, and also be pretty decent against Afterglow, I guess. I shouldn't say pretty decent. I mean, it was straight up shut off its effect if it's the first damage you take. Number F0, Utopic Future Slash. 2 Xyz monsters with the same rank except number monsters. This card's original rank was always treated as 1. You can also Xyz this card by using a Utopia monster or number F0 Utopic Future you control as material. Gain 500 attack for each number Xyz monster in the graveyards. Cannot be destroyed by battle. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card. This card can make a second attack during each battle phase this turn. That's quite good if you can get your number monsters in the discard. Especially with the ability to attack twice. Appliancer. Electrilic. Appliancer World. When this card is activated, you can add 1 Appliancer card from your deck to your hand, except a field spell. Once per turn, if you link summon an Appliancer linked monster, you can add 1 Appliancer monster from your graveyard to your hand. Once per turn, when a monster declares an attack, you can move 1 Appliancer monster you control to another of your main monster zones. You can only activate it once per turn. Or you can only activate 1 of them once per turn. Now, that seems like quite good support for Appliancers. Another Chaos Neos and Ra's Disciple. When this card is summoned, you can special summon up to 2 Ra's Disciples from your hand and or deck. Cannot be tributed except for the tributing of Slifer the Sky Dragon, Obelisk the Tormentor, or the Winged Dragon of Ra. You cannot special summon monsters except by the effect of Ra's Disciple. So overall, seems quite good. I mean, lets you get out the material right away for special summoning out the gods. Flower Cardian Cherry Blossom. If you control a level 2 or lower Flower Cardian monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Also, you cannot normal or special summon monsters for the rest of this turn, except Flower Cardian monsters. Once per turn, you contribute 1 Flower Cardian monster, draw 1 card, and if you do show it, then if it is a Flower Cardian monster, you can take 1 Flower Cardian monster from your deck, except Flower Cardian Cherry Blossom, and either add it to your hand or special summon it, otherwise send the card you drew to the graveyard. Not quite sure how I feel about that. Because that's, like you're tributing a monster to draw a card that you may or may not be able to play, and it may just be straight up getting discarded right away. We have number C92, Heart Earth Chaos Dragon. 4 level 10 monsters. Cannot be destroyed by battle. When a monster you control inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you gain life points equal to the damage they took. If this card has number 92, Heart Earth Dragon, as an Xyz material, gains this effect. Once per turn, or from this card, negate the effects of all face-up cards your opponent currently controls until the end of the turn. This activation and effect cannot be negated. Four level 10 monsters. 1000 attack. I'm just going to keep on going. Number 3, Numeron Gate Trini. 3 level 1 monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. At the end of the damage step, if this card battled an opponent's monster, you can detach 1 material from the card, double the attack of all Numeron monsters you currently control until the end of the turn. So I'm guessing the whole thing with the Numeron Gates is that they would all have this ability to double their attack, or the attack of all Numeron monsters, so you could just keep attacking with them and snowball. Malefic Paradigm Dragon. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by banishing one Malefic monster from your extra deck while Malefic Paradigm Dragon is not on the field. If Malefic World is not on the field, destroy this card. Once per turn, you can send one Malefic card from your deck to the graveyard. Return one of your banished level 8 Synchro monsters from the extra deck, or to the extra deck. Then you can special summon that monster from the extra deck. Also, you can only attack with Malefic monsters for the rest of this turn. So, I think most of the Malefic monsters have the requirement of you can only have one Malefic on the field. He doesn't have that. Seems pretty easy to get him out onto the field. I mean, you only need to have Malefic World and Malefic monsters in your extra deck. And you can even immediately bring out, if it's a level 8 monster, looks like you could even immediately bring it out, so you have two giant beat sticks. Another Afterglow. Boost Warrior. If you control a tuner, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. All warrior monsters you control gain 300 attack. I mean, it's decent enough for giving your guys a small boost. Nothing to write home about, but I mean, you can just special summon them out. And he's a 1-star, so it's, you can use him for Numeron Calling. If Numeron Network is in your field zone and you control no monsters, special summon up to 4 Numeron Gate Xyz monsters with different names from your extra deck, but banish them during the end phase. Also, you can only normal or special summon once for the rest of the turn. Huh. Appliance Laundry Dragon. Acquires an Appliancer monster. Cannot be used as link material the turn it is link summoned. Neither player takes any battle damage from attacks involving this card. Once per turn, after damage calculation, if this co-linked card battles an opponent's monster, you can banish that opponent's monster. Once per turn, after damage calculation, if this monster that is not co-linked battles an opponent's monster, you can destroy that opponent's monster, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack. Huh. That's interesting. Appliance or Kappa Scale. Cannot be used as link material, turns link summoned. You can tribute this co-link card, special summon one Appliance or link monster from your graveyard, except Kappa Scale. You can tribute this card that is not co-linked. Special summon one level 4 lower Appliance or monster from your graveyard. You can only use each effect once per turn. Number 4, Numeron Gate Katavari. Cannot be destroyed by battle. At the end of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can detach one material from this card. Double the attack of all Numeron monsters you currently control until the end of this turn. Galaxy Worm. When this card is normal summoned while you control no other monsters, you can special summon one level 3 or lower Galaxy effect monster from your deck, but negate its effects. I mean, it's decent enough for getting out more material. We have Armored White Bear. If this card is normal or special summoned while a synchro monster is on the field, you can target one field spell in your graveyard, add it to your hand. If this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, or if this card in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect and sent to your graveyard, you can special summon one level 4 lower beast monster from your deck or graveyard, except Armored White Bear. I mean, decent enough. He replaces himself if your opponent does anything to him. Lets you reuse a field spell. Brotherhood of the Fire Fist, Lion Emperor. Once per turn, you can detach one material from this card, then target one fire monster in your graveyard, add that card to your hand. Also, you cannot normal or special summon that monster or a monster with the same name for the rest of the turn. Not quite sure how I feel about that. Number 1, Numeron Gate Akam. Cannot be destroyed by battle. At the end of the damage step, if this card is battled an opponent's monster, detach one material from this card, double the attack of all Numeron monsters you currently control until the end of this turn. I'm noticing a slight trend with the Numeron Gates. Invoked Caliga. Alistair the Invoked and one Dark Monster. Or Alistair the Invoker, I should say. Each player can only attempt to activate one monster effect per turn. Each player can only attack with one monster during each battle phase. I mean, it's decent enough gate effect. Numeron Wall. If you control no cards except Numeron Walls, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard. Activate one Numeron Network directly from your hand or deck. You can only use this effect once per turn. When you take battle damage, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, end the battle phase after the damage step. I mean, it seems like quite a good card. You know, special summons himself when you take damage. Immediately ends the battle step. You can use them to fetch out another card, so really can't complain about him. We have Weathering Stone, or Weathering Soldier. If this card is destroyed by battle or sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can add one Fossil Fusion or one card that specifically lists Fossil Fusion in its text except Weathering Soldier from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. Once per turn during your end phase, it loses 600 attack. I mean, 2,000 attack at the start, so it's not too bad for if you want something to stick around a turn or two. Obedient Schooled. If you control no monsters, special summon 3 level 2 or lower beast effect monsters with different names from your deck, but their effects are negated. Also, they are destroyed during the end phase. For the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters except beast monsters. I mean, it seems quite good for bringing out material. Appliancer Copybockle. Target one appliancer monster you control, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, this card's name becomes that monster's name until the end phase, during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one appliancer monster you control, special summon one monster with the same name from your hand or graveyard. You can only use each effect once per turn. Book of Moon. Target one face-up monster on the field, change it to face-down defense position. This is one I remember from back in the day, very good for resetting flip monsters, or just making something that has a ongoing face-up effect that you want to go away. Overall, very good card. Secure Gardener. We have Chimera Tech Mega Fleet Dragon. One Cyber Dragon monster and one plus monsters in the extra monster zone. Cannot be used as fusion material. Must first be special summoned from your extra deck by sending the above cards from either field to the graveyard. You do not use polymerization. The original attack of this card becomes 1,200 times the number of fusion materials used for a special summon. I mean, so you're looking at minimum of it being a 2,400 monster attack, or a monster attack, 2,400 attack monster. I mean, seems decent enough. Another Numeron Gate Trini. Another Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. Another Vacuolifant. And another Junk Anchor. Glacial Beast Blizzard Wolf. When a monster declares an attack, you can negate the attack, and if you do, special summon one level 4 lower water monster from your hand except Glacial Beast Blizzard Wolf. At the start of your opponent's battle phase, if this card is in your graveyard and you control no monsters, you can special summon this card in attack position, but banish it when it leaves the field. So, I mean, overall, it seems quite good. Your opponent declares an attack, you can just immediately shut it off, bring out another monster. Another Cicada King, Black Whirlwind, Penguin Torpedo, Koaki Meru Drago. During each of your end phases, destroy this card unless you send one Iron Core of Koaki Meru from your hand to the graveyard, or reveal one Dragon monster from your hand. Neither monster can special summon light or dark monsters. Not sure how I feel about that. Because, I mean, it requires you to have Iron Cores. It's only 1900 attack. I mean, it stops stops both of you from using light and dark monsters, but just, I don't know. Not quite sure how I feel about that one. Fossil Dragon Skullgios. Must first be special summoned with Fossil Fusion before damage calculation. If this card battles an opponent's monster, you can switch the current attack and defense of that opponent's monster until the end of that damage step. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage. If this fusion summon card battles an opponent's monster, any battle damage inflicts to your opponent is doubled. So overall, seems like quite a good effect. Yeah, I mean, he has a nice high attack. You can always make sure that you're hitting the lower number of the two. If you control a machine monster, send one Jinzo from your hand or deck to the graveyard. Inflict 600 damage to your opponent during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one machine monster in your graveyard, send one Jinzo monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, add the targeted monster to your hand. I mean, it's a bit unfortunate that no matter what, it requires you to send a Jinzo to the graveyard. Focus. There you go. Yeah, overall, I'm not sure how I feel about that. Invoked Raijin, or Raijin. Once per turn, you can target one face-up monster on the field, change it to face-down defense position. Overall, very good effect. I mean, I won't lie, I would not say no to having a Book of the Moon on a stick. Appliancer Breaker Bunkle. During damage calculation, if an Appliancer monster you control battles an opponent's monster, you can discard this card for that battle. That monster you control cannot be destroyed. Also, you take no battle damage. No. So it's decent for saving one of your cards. Cross Sheep. If a monster is special summoned to a zone this card points to, you can apply the following effects in sequence based on the card types of the monsters this card points to. So, Ritual, draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards. Fusion, special summon 1 level 4 monster from your graveyard. Synchro, all monsters you control gain 700 attack. Xyz, all monsters your opponent controls lose 700 attack. You can only use this effect once per turn. Oh, that's actually a really good and useful effect. I like that card. Because it looks like it's based off of, like, as long as you have one monster already summoned, you're getting 2 effects off of it. We have another Dark Spell Regeneration. Assault Blackwing Sohaya the Rainstorm. If this card is synchro summoned using a Blackwing monster as material, it is treated as a tuner while face up on the field. You can only use each of these effects once per turn. When this card is synchro summoned, you can target one Assault Blackwing monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and during your main phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can banish one other Assault Blackwing from your graveyard to special summon this card. I mean, seems decent enough. Another Malefic Paradigm Dragon. Another Flower Cardian Cherry Blossom. Elemental Hero Shining Flare Wingman. Must be fusion summoned. Gains 300 attack for each Elemental Hero card in your graveyard. If this card destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack in the graveyard. Because I think Flame Wingman is a fusion as well, isn't he? Because if so, I mean, that's, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. So you'd probably be starting off at 3,700, I believe. Wait. Yeah, 1, 2, yeah. I mean, otherwise, it's still going to be 3,100, so it's not too bad overall. And we have High Rate Draw. Destroy 2 or more monsters you control, and if you do, draw 1 card for every 2 monsters destroyed. During your opponent's main phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target 1 monster you control, destroy it, and if you do, set this card but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect once per turn. So, very good if you're wanting to get cards fast and you don't care about your monsters. I guess if you're also running a deck where you're have stuff that when they go to the graveyard from play, things happen. Number 1, Numeron Gate Akam. Salamangreat Gazelle. If a Salamangreat monster is sent to your graveyard except Gazelle, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can send 1 Salamangreat card from your deck to the graveyard. You can only use each effect once per turn. I mean, seems decent enough. Number 2, Numeron Gate. And Blackwing Chris the Crack of Dawn. If you control a Blackwing monster other than Blackwing Chris of the Crack of Dawn, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon once per turn this way. Once per turn, cannot be destroyed by spell or trap effects. I mean, seems like decent support for, or a decent card for Blackwings. I say not knowing actually how Blackwings play. But I mean, overall, his effects seem good. Numeron Network. During your main phase, send 1 Numeron normal spell card that meets its activation conditions from your deck to the graveyard. This effect becomes the spell's effect when this card is activated. You can only use this effect once per turn. Numeron Xyz monsters you control can activate effects without detaching materials. Ooh, that is actually very nice. So that's very good, especially with the other Numeron spell that lets you special summon 4 of them. Another Elemental Hero Neo Alias. Intruder Alarm Yellow Alert. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, special summon 1 monster from your hand, but return it to hand at the end of the battle phase. When you control that face-up special summon monster, your opponent cannot target other monsters for attacks. Seems quite good if you've got something that... Because it's any monster, right? Yeah, special summon 1 monster from your hand. So, you know, very good for if you want to keep your field alive and you have a nice beat stick in your hand. Appliancer Test. Numeron Gate Katavari. We have Trishula, the Dragon of Icy Imprisonment. So it requires 3 monsters with different names. Must first be either fusion summoned, using only the monsters in your hand and or field, or special summoned from the extra deck by banishing the above cards you control, in which case you do not use polymerization. If this card was special summoned using only monsters that were originally dragons, you can reveal and banish 3 cards, 1 from your deck, 1 from the top of your opponent's deck, and 1 from their extra deck. You can only use this effect once per turn. That seems like quite a good card. 4 Mud Skipper. Appliancer World. Invoked Purgatrio. This card gains 200 attack for each card your opponent controls. Can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage. So that seems quite good overall. Appliance or Dryer Drake. Cannot be used as link material the turn that is link summoned. The link card gains 1000 attack. Once per turn during your battle phase, if this card is co-linked, except during the damage step, you can switch the location of 2 Appliancer monsters in your main monster zone, including this card, and if you do, the other monster that can make a second attack during each battle phase this turn. Once per turn, when this card that is not co-linked is targeted by attack, you can negate the attack. So, decent little boost to another appliance monster. We have Fossil Fusion. Fusion summon 1 Fossil Fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from any graveyards except for materials with a specific graveyard requirement listed. If you banish monsters from both graveyards, neither player can target that special summon monster with monster effects. If a face-up Fossil Fusion monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect while this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card from the graveyard to your hand. So, seems quite good overall. Another Obedient Scold. Another Copybockle. Shining Flare Wingman. And Invoked Caliga. I almost wonder if Invoked Caliga is supposed to be Invoked Caligula. We have Artifact Ignition. If you have an artifact monster in your deck, target 1 spell or trap on the field, destroy that target, and if you do, set 1 artifact monster from your deck to your spell or trap zone as a spell. If this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, your opponent skips their next battle phase. Interesting. Black Whirlwind. Appliance Reuse. Another Salaman Great Sunlight Wolf. And Kalantosa Mystical Beast of the Forest. Looks kind of like Shaman from Pokemon. And Glacial Beast Polar Penguin. If this card is special summoned, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls, return it to the hand. If this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. You can only use 1 Glacial Beast Polar Penguin effect per turn, and only once that turn. So, decent for slowing down your opponent's stuff. Another Laundry Dragon. Another Socket Roll. Numeron Wall. Goyo Guardian. So, yeah, so that was the Battle of Legend Armageddon. Didn't get the new Chaos Emperor Dragon, but I'm fine with that. I might buy another set of this down the line. If I get a chance, I should go and hit up the one game store that was advertising the set. So maybe I'll pick up see if they have another booster box of Battle of Legend, and if I'm lucky, maybe they'll also have Toon Chaos. Because I would like to open another booster box for Toon Chaos. I did like that set. But so thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe. You know the routine. Thank you.